forever for Alfa Romeo to finally make good on their promise of a curvy Italian rival to the A4s and 3 Series of this world. But finally, the Giulia has arrived, and it certainly looks like it's been worth the wait. There's no denying that the Italians know how to make a good-looking car, and the Giulia is, quite simply, stunning to look at. The big question now that it's here though is whether it's all style and no substance, or whether Alfa Romeo have managed to produce a premium saloon good enough to shake up that German stronghold. Sit inside and it certainly looks promising so far. More smooth curves surround the dashboard, which slopes up to seamlessly house a very slick infotainment system, controlled by these twisty dials in the centre. The clean lines and simple fuss-free layout do give it a bit of an Audi-esque feel. But although the materials used are of extremely high quality, it's probably still just a hair away from the exceptional refinement of an A4. It more than measures up when it comes to space and comfort though, with acres of head and legroom everywhere except the middle seat in the back, which is impeded by a large transmission tunnel, a problem which it shares with its fellow rear-wheel drive BMW 3 Series. The boot is exactly on par with the class, at a very typical but still quite sizable 480 litres. And so we move on to bang for buck. Go for the basic Giulia and you get a very generous level of standard equipment, including dual zone air conditioning, cruise control, parking sensors and keyless go. Not to mention some impressive safety features like lane departure and forward collision warning. That all helped the Giulia score the full 5 stars on the NCAP safety test. You can upgrade to the super trim for half leather upholstery, 3D navigation, DAB digital radio and a 7-inch TFT display behind the steering wheel. This super sport model is where the real sweet spot lies though, with upgraded styling details that really make it pop, like the 18-inch turbine alloy wheels, tinted windows, chrome accents in the cabin and this beautiful flat bottom sports steering wheel. It's also got the full leather upholstery, which, let's face it, you can't really drive an Italian saloon without, can you? Top of the line super looks will add a reversing camera, adaptive cruise control and power folding mirrors. The other big decision besides trim level is whether to go petrol or diesel. The petrol options consist of a 200 HP turbocharged 2 litre, or if you have 100 grand going spare you can go for the very pinnacle of Alfa ownership in the 2.9 litre V6 510 HP Quadrifoglio. For us mere mortals though, who have to worry about things like fuel economy and tax, the more realistic option is this 2.2 litre JTD diesel, available with either 150 or 180 HP. This is the latter, and if you're gonna go for diesel, you might as well treat yourself to that bit of extra power. It also shaves more than a second off its 0 to 60 time, getting you there in just 7.1 seconds, while claiming to do the same fuel economy. Claiming being the right word there, because while Alfa Romeo's official figure is 4.2 litres per 100 kilometres, or about 67 miles to the gallon, real-world driving produces closer to 50 mpg. Not that it's unusual for claimed fuel economy figures to be a bit ambitious. It could also be something to do with the way Alfas encourage you to drive them. Known for being a real driver's brand, the Giulia certainly doesn't disappoint on this front. All models come with a super smooth 8-speed automatic transmission, which makes for a really effortless and relaxing drive. But thanks to things like the rear-wheel drive power, flappy paddles on the steering wheel, and Alfa's mental dynamic mode, it's still really fun and engaging. The steering is really sharp and responsive, and the phenomenal grip makes it really good fun on these windy B-roads. At the same time, it still gives you all the refinement that you want in a premium saloon, with a suspension that irons out any rough surfaces, and impressive sound insulation making for a quiet and relaxing cabin. If this were to be a 5-word review, I think I'd go with looks good and drives great, which in fairness is probably more than enough for your typical Alfa fan. But those who don't fall into that category might need a little bit more convincing, because it's not a brand that has been very visible over the last few years. And there will still be those who associate it with a bit of a question mark over reliability. But really, you only need to sit into this car to see how far the brand has come in terms of build quality, and the Giulia certainly feels like a well screwed together machine. So while in the past driving an Alfa might have been seen as a bit of a risk, these days it's more of a statement. To see if it's one that you'd like to make, you can check it out for yourself at your local Alfa dealer, details of which you'll find on CarsIreland.ie.